Welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your patient growth. Today, we're going to introduce you to Raj, the co-founder of Foundation Physiotherapy and Wellness in Toronto. He's going to show us what American physical therapy clinics can learn from Canadian physiotherapy, and he's really done a great job of turning his therapists into effective marketers through email, social media. He's also incorporated wellness into his PT practice and has been really purposeful about stepping back from treating 40 hours a week to invest in his business. So we're very excited to hear from him. Also at the end, Raj is going to tell you the number one thing that has led to the most success over his past 3 years. So stick around. Let's power your practice.
All right, hello, welcome to the PT Marketing Power Hour, highlighting successful marketing strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today's focus is on what can American physical therapy practices learn from Canadian physiotherapy practices. And today we're here with our guest, Raj Suppiah, owner and co-owner of Foundation Physiotherapy and Wellness. Welcome, Raj, to the show.
Thanks, Neil. Happy to be here.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Foundation Physio?
Yeah, so I'm started practicing in 2006. I've been in practice for 15 years. Started Foundation Physio in downtown Toronto in 2011. So this will be our 10th year. Our vision was to have a boutique style direct-to-consumer clinic. 2011, we opened that clinic. I'd already been practicing for a few years. Myself and Matt, as another physio, we opened the clinic, and it was just driven by ambition and hard work. And we are now a group of 3 clinics across Toronto, hoping to expand to a few more in the next year or two. So, we've constantly been upgrading and looking at our changing clientele and how to market and how to communicate and sell our services to them. So we're happy about our growth. We're happy to be here and looking forward to growing more.
Awesome. Thanks, Raj. Yeah, I've had the pleasure and fortune to visit Canada a lot. And I really admire the Canadian physiotherapy community. And to me, some what they do in Canada is a little different than here in the United States in terms of, I think they're a little bit more ahead of the curve in going more direct to the consumer. And I'd like to pick your brain today, Raj, a little bit around that and how you've been able to go more direct to the consumer. Like, when did that happen? And what's some of the benefits that you found by going more direct to the consumer?
For sure. I think one of the largest things that happened was, and I have to give our association credit for this, is that we became what we call primary care healthcare providers. So in the sense that we were able to provide a diagnosis, those became part of our scope of practice. And then as a result of that, taking that to the insurers, so the insurance companies would lift the requirement for a physician's note or physician's referral to be covered and reimbursed. That all just happened while I've been in practice. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen, in the last 5 years. It's probably been happening over the last 10 years, I'd say. And I would say over time, majority of insurance companies now do not require a physician's note or physician's referral for physical therapy to be covered. And so I think that's been the largest kind of regulatory change that's allowed. That is a regulatory change. On the patient education side, there's still work to be done on that side. That obviously patients still don't know that. So we have to get in front of the patients to let them know. So the association works on that. A lot of private clinics that are obviously looking to get more business are also educating clients through the websites, through social media, through any sort of marketing that they're doing, that you can access a physio without a note for your insurance company. And so that has been super helpful and has made us a bit more present in front of the consumer, which gives them more choice and better choices.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And the U.S. has been going through something a little similar. And it's, in the United States, we're 50 states, so it's like 50 different countries trying to operate as one. So each state has done something a little different with their ways that they do direct access. But I think, again, like, it comes back still to the individual clinic owners and how well they're able to tap into what their state allows them to do, and to be able to promote that actively to their community. And sometimes, one of the things that I see that they can either do well or not do well is in how they explain that to others. So if they explain, hey, we have direct access, and come in for direct access, most of the public doesn't understand what that means.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, hey, you can come to us without a physician referral, and we'll be able to take care of you. No physician referral needed. That's a little bit better understood.
Yeah.
So did you see anything like that in Canada?
Yeah, I think it's important to let them know, like, you don't need a doctor's note. I think that's part of, like, in every website, in our website, we have the FAQ,
Mhm.
is a doctor's note required? No, a doctor's note is not required. Please do double check with your insurance company just to make sure. And just so people in the audience are aware, I'm going to speak from Ontario's perspective. We're one of the largest provinces, and Canada's a fairly small province, so typically a fairly small country. So typically changes that happen in some of the big urban centers of Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary will typically trickle down to the rest of the country quicker. And so, a province like Ontario, if they make a big legislation change, will typically trickle down to other provinces, quicker. And we only have, 10 real provinces to deal with, unlike you guys. So that might be why, things can move in a different way for us here. But that being said, yeah, we do have to still let the public know that, you can still see us directly. By using those words, a doctor's note is not required. Secondly, also, doctors are busy. Doctors are funded completely by the public system. And so if you just got an ankle sprain today, it might take you a week before you speak to your doctor. COVID changed a bit of that. Maybe you can jump on a virtual call, but before COVID, it might take you a week or 10 days to just get to the doctor's office. So having physios that you can just Google, and I think also it's important from a marketing standpoint, marketing like strategies for back pain, strategies for ankle pain, and people say, hey, physio is covered. And then on the website, physio can help me with ankle pain. And then on the website, it says, oh, I don't need a note to see a physio. So I'll check with my insurance company, physio is covered. I don't need a note. Okay, I will go to see this physio tomorrow because I don't have to wait 10 days to see my doctor. I'll probably get better before having to wait to see the doctor. So outcomes are even better now because we have direct access.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and again, I know we're trying to, from a legislative standpoint, to push that a little bit harder here in the United States. And I actually had a really unique experience where I was able to intern in the U.S. Navy. And I was at the Naval Hospital in Groton, Connecticut. And there it was same thing. Like, you came basically to the physical therapist first. And then we made the recommendation of whether you go to an orthopedic doctor or neurologist, or, we could prescribe x-rays, MRIs, certain NSAIDs, things like that. So it was a pretty unique experience, in like how the model should be, right?
Yeah,
For
I
most
agree.
musculoskeletal care, PT
Yeah.
should be primary, and then be able to, refer out as needed there. But again, that comes to me from public perception, public pressure, right, on insurance companies, on legislative models and things like that. So if we wait to see what the government does, it will never happen, right?
It'll never happen. We're like, physical therapy is very, very low on an industry list when it comes to government changes, right? I think in both countries. So we're not a big enough industry for them to make change, right? So we have to push the public, and we're doing the same thing here, right? We do a lot of part of it is why we as physical therapists, even us as leaders in our clinics, push for outcomes, because we want to show the public that, hey, if you can see us because of this back pain and an ankle sprain, we got you better without even having to go to the doctor. Then you tell your friends, you tell your colleagues, hey, you go back to your office. We're in Toronto, so there's a lot of big offices here, a lot of multinational companies that have very good insurance companies. Very good insurance plans. You go back to your office, be like, hey, I just went to go see this guy at Foundation, or this girl at Foundation, got me better in 10 visits with my back pain within 8 weeks. Go there, right?
That's awesome.
And that's the kind of word of mouth you want to create. And I think that's that bottom up approach by making change in the community, and the community starts to refer. And that's really how we've seen social media and digital marketing, help clinics today in the last 5 years is largely because of that word of mouth and because people have seen outcomes with our services.
That's awesome. So for you, like in your clinics, how have you seen over the years that kind of changed, like in terms of, are you getting more and more word of mouth referrals now? And because of this kind of like direct to consumer model that you've done?
Yeah, like it's twofold, right? Like I would say a large chunk of our clients are return clients, people that have come in from previous positive experiences. And then obviously they're telling their friends and family. So we track referrals. We do notice that a good chunk of our patients do come from referrals, but also just acquiring new patients has been great because we get old patients to talk about us. Right. So you want them to give you Google reviews. You want them to leave stuff on Facebook. We'll talk about that later when it comes to some of the advertising issues we're having in Canada, but still, or in Ontario, but still, like you want them to talk about you online, so that when they find you and you have so Google reviews, they're kind of understanding that, okay, out of all these clinics, these guys have, really good high star rating. Maybe I'll go there, and you're gonna influence their choice, right, based on that. On those reviews. So you want to get those people to talk about you, post it on social media, repost, share, build that engagement, build that loyalty and following up.
Yeah, for sure. And so in your practice, you mentioned you get quite a few repeat patients back in. Are there any things that you do from a marketing aspect to facilitate getting more past patients back in?
Yeah. So, I mean, from a marketing aspect, like, and you guys well know, but we try to use, regular, we send newsletters every month, keep patients in the know. We provide value back to our community. We provide webinars, have a physio provide some sort of session, on something like posture or strength training or something like that, yoga, whatever the flavor of the month is. Just by providing the value back to our email list. Really maintaining a good email list is important. And then obviously also collecting followers on the social media side, because we are kind of in an urban population with a young demographic that's highly digital. A lot of them are on Instagram mostly. So we like to use Instagram marketing as well, and just, from an engagement perspective. So keeping the patient engaged with your brand is important, so that they can, keep sharing that word of mouth. You don't want them to forget about you after their ankle pain's better. You want them to keep coming back into you. And we do a lot of in-house, we offer other services, like you mentioned, like we offer massage. So after your clinic care is over, come in once a month for massage because you've got benefits for it, right? And therefore they're still a customer and a consumer of your clinic services, even beyond the initial clinic care. Or we're looking at coming up with an online store as well, so we can be a nice provider for rehab services, rehab products, gym equipment. So there's lots of ways to keep your customers engaged after those initial acute care. There's lots of strategies. It's just you have to be purposeful about it.
I love it. Yeah, because you just hit the nail on the head there, purposeful. And I think for a lot of practice owners, they get so fixated on let me get the new patient in the door that they don't put enough purpose behind marketing to their most valuable asset, which is their customer list. And in what ways in your practice can you maintain great relationships with your customers? I think you also talked really powerfully to how you work to build your followers, right, in social media. How many of those out there are working right now to get your staff to get your patients to follow you, right? Do they follow you on Facebook? Do they follow you on Instagram? If you don't have someone pushing that, then it's very hard to get people built on your list. And then even if you're sending content out, you have a small list, right? It's all about building as many customers to engage with you as possible, right? On your email list, on your Facebook account, on your Instagram page, right? So if you have that driver, if you have that focus, if you have those processes in place, you can get in front of a lot of your past audience and provide great content to them, right? We've got a lot of knowledge from all of our therapists in the clinic to share, and that keeps them engaged. And then I love what you said about those ancillary services, massage, say acupuncture, whatever you want to provide in the clinic. What kind of way can you keep servicing them way into the future, not just from the physical therapy side of things?
Exactly. It's understanding, like in business, they talk about the customer journey. And that's really what it is. It's a customer journey, right?
Yeah.
From the moment you've acquired them, because we all know, especially in an urban area like ours in Toronto, it's a very expensive city, but we have a lot of competition. So acquiring a customer can be quite costly, right? But acquiring a brand new customer, and I tell this to my staff all the time, acquiring a return customer is the cheapest thing. It's the cheapest level of acquisition because it's $0. You already have systems that are running it, right? They already know the brand. They already know everything. They're also more likely going to get better results the next time around. They're going to be the best ambassadors of the brand. So you want to have a high level of return clients. We also want to focus on new clients, but we don't want it all to be new clients. We want it to be a large chunk of return clients. And as the practice gets busier, we want a lot of them to be returned. And we build those metrics even for the therapists, right? A new therapist is going to have a lot of new patients, but if you've been there for 3 or 4 years, we want to make sure that your patient list and that your new assessments, we call them assessments, your new assessments that you're getting yearly are still actually older patients coming back in, right? And so we have metrics built around that based on their performance. So you have to be purposeful about the entire business from the top level down, and how you look at it and how you look at the customers going through. We want them to be fans of our business. We want them to talk about our business, and almost, just like if someone were to say like coffee, the first thing you say Starbucks, we want our patients to think like physical wellness foundation. That's what we want them to think. And if you have that vision and that's what you want your customers to think, then you got to act on it.
Hey there. If you enjoy listening to the PT Marketing Power Hour, that probably means you're the kind of person who likes to grow their clinic fast and take control of your direct patient marketing. So what if there was something you could do today that would improve your clinic's website and attract more new patients? Well, there is. Our new 10-minute website makeover workshop will teach you how to diagnose your website's problems and 5 simple actions you can take today to improve your website and attract more new patients online. We promise you don't even have to be tech savvy for this 10-minute workshop to work for you. So to access the training, just go to practicepromotions.net/PT makeover. Again, PT makeover, no spaces, no dashes. In just 10 minutes, you can learn simple changes that's going to make your website irresistible to new patients. So check it out today, and now let's get on with the show.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And you totally blew my mind there where you talked about how you actually get your own therapist to track how many reactivated patients.
We track it, but we make it a metric for them. We have systems that track it. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many clinics that I talk to that don't even keep that stat period of total number of reactivated patients. Yeah. And you're doing it on a per therapist. That's amazing.
Doing it on a per therapist level. And we're even bonusing them out if they get more retained. I mean, return patients also, like even the way we do it here in Canada and across Ontario, an initial patient pays, for example, $130 for an hour, right? A return patient pays $80 for a half hour. So if your hours are booked with return patients, you're going to be better off successfully. And the way we compensate them is based on a commission-based model. So they're going to get, they're going to be financially more successful if they have return patients coming in. So we also have to make sure we train them properly and have them understand those knowledges. And we're transparent about our metrics. And, if you're not a therapist that doesn't fill that kind of mold, then you're not for us. But we want driven therapists who want to be successful from an outcome perspective, but also from a commission standpoint. And they know how to drive those metrics in. And you're right. It is. I think in Ontario too, we don't see too many clinics tracking it. It's becoming more common because we have a lot more resources in private practice that allow us to track it. But it's one of the biggest things to make sure that your EMR system or your patient database allows you to track these metrics. In terms of how many new patients, how many return patients, what's your utilization rate like for therapists, and don't be afraid of sharing those metrics with your staff, right? I mean, every system does it. In the US, hospitals do it. In Canada, hospitals do it. Every system, every industry tracks metrics. As a small business owner, if you're running a good practice, you should be too.
Yep, absolutely. And I love what you do in the clinic too, which is to get your whole team, especially your therapists, involved in those metrics, because it just can't be you at the top trying to drive this thing. If everybody's pushing and they understand their role. And that might be something that you run into in a clinic out there, right? Whoever's listening, maybe your therapists aren't fully on board with your purpose or mission, what you're trying to accomplish. And are they the right fit, right? Because you want therapists in there that want to help a lot of people. and they understand that their role is not just a clinical role, but also to ensure that you're able to help more people by making the business successful, by nurturing their patients that they've seen before, that they maintain those relationships, and that makes it easy for them to come back in. I think you said this great, and I've seen this in a lot more Canadian clinics than in the US, and that's this pay for performance model with clinicians. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So essentially, in most of our private practices here, a clinician, let's say, passed their probation after minimum 3 months to a year of their practice, they'll typically go in what's called a commission-based model, in the sense that they're going to get a split per session. And it might be just the way our billing is done here. We don't itemize bill, so essentially a patient will just pay $80 for a half an hour session, or $90 for a half hour session, and that's all they pay, no matter what kind of treatment they get in that half hour. So the therapist gets a cut of that. A junior therapist gets a smaller cut. A senior therapist will get more and more, depending on their expertise level and what else they bring into the clinic, right? So that typically seems to be the model that works well here. It forces the clinicians to be a little bit more accountable to drive their caseloads. It's not for everybody, I'm not gonna lie. And we do see a lot of clinicians that enter private practice in their first, right after the residency, but they realize soon that this model isn't for them, because you have to be the right person to be able to drive this. So they might end up going to a more corporate. We have these large corporate chains that pay hourly because they're typically more insurance driven. So they have a constant flow of clients coming in from insurance companies. So they might go to one of those clinics, or they might go to a hospital where they get paid hourly, and it's their quality of life. And we're not here to judge anybody, but that's just their quality of life. But you typically see it within a year. But anybody who sticks around after a year, typically you convert them to a commission-based model, and they can really be successful if they're good at what they do. It also drives them a little bit, right? So to make sure that they're getting those patients back in, just not even their old patients, just to maintain even that new patient that came in, that you're actually executing a plan of care and you're getting those outcomes. If the patient doesn't like you, they can go somewhere else, right? So, and then you lose that patient. So you have to be accountable.
Right. Yeah. So I think I have seen some clinics here in the U.S. adopt kind of a similar model, or a hybrid kind of model, and I think it's really important for for a lot of practice owners out there to think about rewards and compensation and pay with their team, because again, if you can get your team to be the real drivers, right, of wanting to keep themselves as full as possible, to service as many patients as possible, and to be responsible for keeping those connections and keeping patients come back in, it obviously generates a lot more revenue. It saves a lot in the future for marketing and trying to bring people in. But if you have a decent salary with some sort of bonus structure, it doesn't have to be like a full-on pay for performance where it's, you're just getting like a per hourly rate. A per patient rate. But I have seen clinics be successful with that. So something to definitely think about in your practice, that you have a baseline salary, but then you give people the ability to make more beyond that based off of their productivity. Right.
And that's a model that we've toyed with in the past too, where we've given a baseline salary of a very minimum salary, but then based on performance, they do better. And we, even with the commission-based staff, you can get a higher commission if you're doing more. Right? If you drive more self-referrals, you might get a higher cut on those self-referrals, because that's less for the clinic to pay, right? If you do more billings, you might get a certain percentage of that billings if you've hit a certain target. So, we're creative with different levels of, because as staff get older and they get a little bit more, quote unquote, they want more because they're contributing a lot to the clinic. You have to find strategic ways to compensate them, right? But I think it's important to understand that there's no box. You can be creative as a business owner to make sure that your therapists are happy.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And I think one thing that I've realized along the way too, from a growing business, is that as you get bigger, your compensation strategies become much more important, because now you have to do a compensation across many people. Right. Instead of like, if you start out, you have 4 or 5 people in the clinic, and you can kind of like, make it happen. But once you start to get to 10, 15, 20, 20, it starts like, you need to have something a lot more strategic in place and be viable in the market.
For sure. And I mean, also, but then as you get bigger, you can start to predict your outcome a little bit too, or your income a little bit,
Yes.
right? So if you can predict your income, you can do a little bit of kind of fixed salaries and things. So for our residents, which we take in like newer physios, we typically do pay them a salary because that's the job of a new physio, is just to learn. But they understand that within that 3 to 6 months phase, they will be turning into commission if they're good. And so we work with them. We work with them for those 6 months while they're on salary to make sure they know how to convert and know how to maintain and build that case. So that's a large part when it comes down to leadership, is to make sure your staff are bought in and know how to do it effectively. You don't want them to seem very salesy either, because you don't want to turn the patient off, but they should be able to do it effectively in a professional manner that wants patients to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit here about some of the things that you do in your clinic successfully with your therapist to do more clinic marketing. Because let's face it, if this is a great conversation for everyone to have with their staff in the clinic, just ask them, who's in charge of marketing?
Yeah.
And they should respond, me, like everybody, right? Everybody should be in charge of marketing, right?
Yeah.
Because it is everybody's job in the clinic.
Yeah.
And often therapists might not realize that the part of their job is to market the clinic.
Yeah.
So what do you do in your clinics to help your therapists understand that role and what they do?
Yeah, I agree with you, Neil, because this is a service industry, and so everybody is involved, right? From the brand leaders to the front desk staff to the therapists, who are ultimately the client-facing service provider. When we differentiate, and I like your answer, everybody's involved in marketing, but everybody has a different role of marketing. So the clinic has a role, the brand has a role to get people in through the website. We create the funnel. Right, we create the funnel. We don't expect the therapist to pay for Google AdWords or any of that stuff. That's not their job, right? But what we do expect on our therapist side is definitely, with the re-engagement, is e-blasts regularly once a month, right? Keep in touch with your patient list, right? Let them know what's up. Let them know what you're up to. Let them know about a new course you've taken. Just keep in touch. It's nice to get an email from your therapist, and you can obviously program email, so it looks like it just comes directly from the therapist, right?
Are the therapists responsible then for they have their own kind of own list, and they can send out an email to them?
Well, so we use our email system, right? Okay. Thanks to you guys. Right? We use our email system, and we just ask the therapist to generate the email, to personalize it. Generate an email, give us a picture, and then we have our marketing person to generate the list. We pull it out of our EMR, put it into the e-blast, and plug it away, because we can get the list. We can get a list of the therapist patients from the EMR with the emails, right? We update that every month. We make that a process in the clinic every month. The marketing, we have one of our CERs at one of our clinics. She's our marketing person. She just uploads data, and she's taking it from the EMR and putting it into our campaign monitor. And so we have a list of people at the clinic. We have a list of people based on clinic, based on therapist. So if Raj wants to send out a Christmas email, to my 2020 patients or my 2021 patients, I develop a Christmas email. I put a picture of my family, with all the Christmas tree, and Merry Christmas to all my patients, Happy Holidays, and my email list is there, and it gets sent. It's personalized, right? And that's a great way to stay in touch. And we tell our therapist that, right?
Yeah.
When COVID hit, we wanted to give kind of stay-at-home healthy strategies. So we said, as opposed to the clinic doing it as a whole, as a brand, let's have each therapist do it, right? So make your own strategy. Some of our therapists like to do a bit more stuff on YouTube, so they send out their YouTube links. However you want to do it, we do it. We just try to re-engage and make sure that they're bought into that, because they understand what the importance of that is. They have to understand what the importance of that is. Is constantly being in touch with their patients, and patients actually love it. And if we run the stats, Neil, the emails that come from the therapist have the highest opening rates.
Oh, no doubt.
They have 60% opening rates. And the email that comes from the clinics have 20%, from our clinics at least. The email that comes from therapists have 60%. So people are opening those emails. Because it's personalized.
Yeah, because it's from your therapist, right?
Once a month might be aggressive, but once a quarter, right? Just something to keep in touch. So that's the e-blast side. We make sure the therapists are getting Google reviews, right? So, we maybe as part of their discharge email when they discharge a patient, is to get Google reviews, so that when somebody's on Google and they see a therapist's name on Google, they might tend to choose that therapist.
And how do they ask also in the clinic? Have you trained any of your therapists?
Yeah. So we usually say a successful plan of care, just let the patient know, hey, if you don't mind, please leave us a Google review. Google reviews help, help us run our business and help us treat more patients. So we kind of have a little script. And then we have a little giveaway gift that we usually give them. It's like a water bottle. And inside the water bottle, we have a little business card that says review us with a little link on it. And then we create a link, obviously, that, that's a direct Google link that they can email out to themselves. And part of our email journey too, that we created, our automated email journey, is to put a Google review link in there too. So, these are all strategies, but these aren't unique strategies. These are just strategies done in other industries that we're implementing in this practice.
Yeah, but I think what you've done really well is you've executed it. And what you've done is you've created accountability with your team, but also help them with tools and your marketing person in your clinic that kind of coordinates and gets this done for them. But you give them some responsibility in terms of having to create that email, and the patient can know, like, this was written by my therapist. Right?
Exactly.
So that's pretty phenomenal. I like, great idea. I hope some people take that idea.
Hopefully, and we make them, as part of their contract, they have to do like one webinar a year. We have a pretty big team, so across the clinics, but we make them do like a webinar on a topic, especially now with COVID. A lot of people are online, so they have to do some sort of in-service, which we can market through social media. So that's their give back, another way to collect new patients. And then they're more than welcome to maintain a social media page, which they can also drive clientele that way. So there's multiple strategies. I like the e-blasts quite well because that's a nice, smooth mechanic, but Google reviews will work well as well.
Yeah, I love it. So main takeaway here is, how can you develop processes in your clinic like Raj has done to incorporate more of your team helping with the content and webinars and things that need to outflow from the clinic? It doesn't always have to be on your shoulders, right? You've got an incredible team, leverage them, right? But
yes, that's exactly what you're saying.
Leverage and then some guidance. So obviously you've done a lot of work with training and having like what they should say, kind of maybe some sales techniques. Is that something that you've worked on in the clinic too?
Yeah, I mean, it's just from reading books in other industries and seeing what other people have done, and just listening and paying attention. In other hospitality, when I go to a hotel and I see like the email the hotel sends me right after, about how was our service, and you keep that in the back of your head and say, can I do this in my industry, right? Or even like my car, the guy I bought my car from, he emails me once a month just to see where I don't have to buy a car until 4 years later after my lease wears out, but he still just keeps in touch with me. Right. Because he wants me to buy the next car from him, right? So stuff like that, I'm like, if they're already doing it, I'm like, why can't we do it? It's no different, right? We're a service industry just like them, right? Commission-based just like them. So I like, you try it, and if it sticks, it works. You're gonna get some pushback, but I notice when newer staff come in, and as more and more newer people come in, they almost buy into it easily because they just see it as normal. And you would make your business like run on those kind of engines, and people will buy into it.
Yeah, especially if you explain the why behind it. Like, hey, we
you got to explain the why
and be there for our customers when they come. They don't necessarily always want to come back in, right? We got to prod them to, take care of their problem and come back in.
And we're not giving them bad information. We're actually just providing really good health tips, like amazing health tips that they can't get anywhere else. Like, you're learning exercises, you're getting like YouTube videos. There's so much content and value that we're giving to them. That I would love to have it. And if they choose to unsubscribe, they've unsubscribed. And if they're staying subscribed, they've stayed subscribed for a reason. So
that's right.
Keep pushing out content.
Yeah, right? I mean, like you said, there's no end of things to teach and have fun, right? Have some fun with it.
Exactly.
So let's switch gears here a little bit here and talk about some strategies I see work really well for Canadian clinics. And there's a few clinics here in the US that we see that have incorporated different disciplines in them. And you've done this really well in your clinic. So can you tell us a little bit about your kind of multidiscipline approach, kind of different services that you actually offer in your clinics?
Yeah. So like I said, when we opened the clinic, we were actually just Foundation Physiotherapy. Then kind of around 6 years in, we added and wellness to our name, just because we thought like we understood as consumers, and even having an insurance plan myself, my insurance plan covered me for physical therapy, chiropractic, massage, and other things like naturopathic and mental health, which we expanded into a bit later. But definitely the three big physical therapies in Ontario are physio, chiro, and massage. And I mean, if you love your brand enough and you want people to come back to your brand, then you got to offer more services. right? Because they might spend their, the first way we expanded was into chiro because they might need continued plan of care. And if they've exhausted one set of benefits, they could probably keep seeing the chiro. So having a chiropractor in-house was helpful to work together with them. And then massage was helpful as well because it allowed people to continue on to stay, right? They need a reason to come back to your clinic every month or every 6 weeks, and massage is a great way to do that, right? You don't have to be injured for say to get a massage. So it kind of started with that kind of thinking, right? Let's get them to use kind of like their quote unquote, like their healthcare dollars within our one facility. It also takes the pressure off the client so they don't have to find a new place. It also takes the pressure off the therapist because the therapist doesn't have to refer out of house, right? The therapist can refer in-house, the primary therapist. And over COVID, that evolved to more virtual services like naturopathic and mental health. Because we were more a physical clinic, it was hard to offer like psychotherapy and naturopathic services in the clinic. But having virtual platforms available, we were able to partner with the naturopath and the psychotherapist and offer their services through our platform as well. And if you have a large enough email database, you can start emailing your patients that these services are available and someone will bite, right? And that just builds on that. And it's also good for your therapist too, because if people are experiencing chronic health problems or any other issues with, the evidence moving towards more of a biopsychosocial view of looking at health from an evidence-based standpoint, having these referral sources and these resources are helpful. I know when I was a practicing physio, I would have loved to have like a mental health therapist, so easy to refer my patients to. And if my employer had taken care of that for me, that's what we're doing for our team. So,
yeah, that's fantastic. And like I said,
it's kind of a good kind of clean, offer everything in-house kind of thing,
Yeah. And I think this is a really important thing for, especially as things are opening up now, the people are used to going, more back into clinics, right, for services. Where are the opportunities for your clinics out there, right? For our listeners, like think about what could you incorporate to give more to your clients. And I can tell you from a marketing standpoint, our clinics that we work with, like Raj's, that offer a more comprehensive therapy and solution, that people gravitate more towards that because they want to know, they see those different solutions that are there, whether it's, physio, chiro, acupuncture, massage, and like, wow, they have all this, capabilities here. It attracts people more to the clinics. So that's something for you to definitely look into.
And the ultimate selling point too, Neil, like the best selling point is the information is shared, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to tell, like we all share the same EMR. So it's easy for me to tell when I refer my patient to massage. I'm like, I've been treating your back for 6 weeks. My notes are in there. Now I'm going to send you to Abigail, who's our massage therapist, and she has access to all our notes. And that experience is so much easier for the patient because they don't have to explain everything again. You've just taken a barrier away from a patient. And in healthcare, that's such a huge value to them, right? You just got, so that's your selling factor, I think.
Yeah. And if people want to be, they want to get out of pain, they want to be healthy, right? Yep. And so if we just offer, hey, get out of pain, right, but not the hey, stay healthy portion, then we're missing a part of that patient model, right? So where can we incorporate more of that in there?
Agreed.
So fantastic insights and advice here, Raj. So what would you say has helped your practice to grow over these last 3 years?
Great question. I would actually think like, from an organizational standpoint, I think if you're looking at, so let me take that back a step. I think from a vision standpoint, like where do you want your practice to be, right? Do you want it to be a practice? Do you want it to be just a clinic, or do you want it to be like a brand, right? And when myself and Matt were kind of reaching that point in our careers, we decided we want to take this thing next step. Mm-hmm. But that meant we could no longer be practicing our practice majority of the time. So we also had to move up that notch. So we had to become the leaders and the organizers at that top level and create a proper structure. So I think by creating that structure and having specific roles and actually running like a proper organization, that is what's allowed our brain to be a bit more organized and efficient. And you can't do that unless you want to know that's where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Right. And I, everyone has different vision and different goals. And if you just want to run a small practice, that's great. So you know what that is. But if you want to get a bit bigger, then we have to understand that you can't be purposeful about marketing if you're spending 40 hours treating patients, right? It's going to be very hard. You're going to have to spend at least 10 hours a week on marketing, right? And then few hours managing the marketing team, right? And whoever else is involved. So you have to be kind of purposeful about how you want to grow and be organized. So I think that's really been the thing that's helped us grow, is having that foresight and deciding, okay, where we want to be, and stepping back in our roles as treatment providers and more as leaders, that can create the systems and measure the systems to see whether they're effective.
Yeah, fantastic. And I couldn't agree more. Like, I think you really nailed it there, where you're talking about, you have to have the vision, like, where do you want this thing to go? What do you want it to really be? Yeah. Right. And then you have to be able to make the difficult choice of knowing that change in mindset. Like, I have to change as a person in order to get to that next level. Right. And then you understand, okay, I have to change. What do I have to learn to get there? Right. And that's where you start.
And that's where you have to might be a little bit uncomfortable, because you're a PT, I'm a PT. We didn't learn marketing. We didn't learn sales. So you do have to invest in yourself a little bit. You do have to, maybe scale back on the clinical learning and take some time and talk to the right people and the right groups and get resources on that side of things, because it could be different in whatever area you're in, and understand your community and your network. But you do have to invest in yourself and invest time to take that next step.
Yeah, I know for me, like, gosh, it's been probably 18 years, 16 years, something like that, where I realized, like, okay, I got to get better at business here. So like 16, 18 years of business, I pretty much have the equivalent of like a master's in business, but just not the actual title.
I mean, hey,
for myself, and I'm sure you've done it too. I've spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own business training, right? And so you kind of look back and you're like, wow, you did have to invest a lot, learn a lot, time, but it's there for a reason, because you cannot scale your business, you cannot hit your vision unless you realize you have to change yourself and get better yourself.
You're going to invest, you're going to invest time, you're going to invest money, you're going to invest in yourself, because there are going to be times you're going to invest you're going to try something and it doesn't work. And you have to be okay with that. Yeah. Because if you know that doesn't work, then you do another thing, right? You have to be okay with accepting those things, because that's how business is like, right? So it almost becomes to a point where, like, you can throw anything at the wall at this point, and I'm okay with whatever sticks. I have no surprises, I have no expectations, right? Because people change quicker, people change quick and the market changes, and you have to be ready to change when that changes. I think it just makes you a much more efficient leader.
Yeah, I think this last year taught us a lot about that.
Huge, right? 100%, right? So I think the parting words would be: invest in yourself if you want to grow, and know where you're going to grow, know where you're going, and know where you're growing.
Awesome. Wonderful words of wisdom there. Thank you so much, Raj. I really appreciate your insight. I hope you as listeners out there got a lot of great data today from how you can extrapolate some of the successful action Raj has been doing in his clinic. And again, from this kind of Canadian direct-to-consumer mindset, also how in the clinic he's really working with his clinicians and his whole staff to be part of this whole experience and marketing. And it's given him a lot of control and success. And Raj, just wish you so much success into the future. I know you're going to do it. And thank you for taking the time to be with our audience today.
Thanks, Neil. It was great being here.
Thank you.
I hope today's episode is giving you some new ideas how to work on your business, not in it, so you can set your practice up for the most possible growth. But listen, ideas are useless without action, right? So start taking action by going to practicepromotions.net/power. There you can download more than 9 checklists and free resources made to coach you through simple and proven marketing actions. Again, that's practicepromotions.net/power, and we'll see you next time.